Welcome to Is It Fast, where today we are talking to Adam Christodoulou, winner of the 24 Hours at Nurburgring. We're going to be chatting about his sim rig setup and the season ahead. So Adam, thank you very much for joining me here on Is It Fast. Pleasure to see your face. Sim racing, yeah, exactly.
You may have guessed, but I'm actually sat in my rig right now.
Exactly, yeah, which is, I must say, very impressive. It certainly looks the business.
This thing's been awesome. I don't know. Hold on, let's just. Can I spin this around? So, excuse the boxes. I've had to purchase myself a fan because it's incredible, actually. When I stick the wheel, it's really incredible how stiff this motor gets. So I've gone for a direct drive Fanatec motor, and then they call this the rim, and the steering wheel's called the rim. I've gone for triple monitors,
of course,
32-inch screens. This seat is actually from one of the race teams, so race seats go out of date just for safety reasons. And so managed to steal one of the race seats, and then I've got my very up-to-date cardboard box which holds my laptop so I can look at other information on there. And then I've had to get myself a fan because I was shocked at how hot I get during this. I don't know whether it's because I got the race seat or maybe it's because of the pedals, like the pedals and the details in the pedals.
Look at that.
Absolutely incredible. So when I zoom in, like we've got different angles for the pedals depending on how you have your pedal box set up. Like if you want it more F1 style, you can angle that more, but I've done it by adjusting the angle here, and then you can put different tensions on the springs. The brake pedal, I've got a mechanical brake, but you can actually get a hydraulic brake as well for an even closer feel to the race car. So I've ended up angling my pedals to where I believe are correct, so I can heel and toe in them. In fact, there is one or two little adjustments I need to do. I just need to bring that pedal back just a little bit. And then we got the clutch, which I also think is impressive because you press it and then it goes light right at the end. just like it would in a real race or road car. And then obviously there's a massive spaghetti junction of wires.
Yeah.
But
a problem for another day when you've got to sort them out.
I'm addicted to buying different things. I've ended up buying like myself some webcams so that I've got one pointing at me so you can see me steering. And you can see, so I've been streaming a lot on twitch.tv. So my stream link is twitch.tv/Adam Christodoulou, which is my full surname. If I go to camera test, basically, you can see me on the screen turning the wheel. And so you'll see me fighting against it as well. And then if I go to foot cam, I've got my slippers on. I've also got my foot cam as well. And sorry, just mind that wire, that's not normally there. And so basically you can see all of this when I go onto my full race screen. This is like my home screen. You can see me in the bottom corner. And then when I'm racing, you can see me pressing the brakes as well. So I've got all of this. And it was always something that I was going to purchase at some point. I just never expected to get it this soon. So I've sort of sacrificed the kitchen right now for the sim. But I think I'm going to wait until life goes back to normal before we think about doing any work on the house again. But yeah, the racing, the online racing world has taken off by storm. So of course there's iRacing, there's R Factor, and then there's Assetto Corsa. So I've only played on iRacing and R Factor so far. I've heard some good things about Assetto Corsa, but I'm really struggling with both of them at the moment. So I think doing a third software would only cause more chaos and confusion.
Exactly. Maybe best to.
And I found myself getting excited about lots of like little things. So I don't know whether you can see, but I've now labelled all of my buttons on here. So I ended up getting the sticker kit. So I spent about 2 hours trying to figure out where do I want all my buttons, because of course in the race car you don't get a choice. The buttons are where they are, and the manufacturers, I suppose, thought about all of that. I would normally have this many buttons. Like we've even got the brake bias change. In fact, That one I haven't allocated, but I've got the engine map on this side. I don't know whether it shows up or not. And then, I've got my pit limiter. It's incredible. I've got all my ABS controls up there. And then it even goes down to detail of having a tear off.
If anyone asks you what you've been up to during the great lockdown of 2020, you've got plenty of stuff to show for it, if nothing else.
Yeah. It's cost me a fortune, but this is what I've built. And also, like, if I crash on this thing, because it is a surround screen, like I can't see the very edges of the screen. If I want to have a look, I've got to actually turn my head to have a look as if I was looking out the window. But of course, with my first few days on this, of course, I had a few like momentous crashes. And of course, you're going into the barriers, and I think I've learned to let go of the steering wheel like you would in real life, because this motor goes up to 40 Newton meters. Basically, is almost half the strength of what people tighten the wheel nuts up on their car with a massive like torque wrench. And so this thing is stronger than I am, to the point that you have to have an emergency button on it, which I had to use the other day. Because I don't know what happened, but I jumped into the pits and the wheel must have been slightly off center. And so because when I jumped in the pits, it sort of straightened up. I think it straightened it up too much, and then it tried to do it. And then the wheel just like went out of control. Like I ended up looking at the thing, and I tried to like grab the edge of the wheel, and like it just sort of like smacked my hands out the way. So I was like, right, emergency button. And that's the first time I've used it purposely. I've accidentally knocked it once.
When's your next race?
So actually, it is in an hour and a half. But this is on the PlayStation, so I don't have as much control of stuff on the PlayStation, just because I just haven't connected it all up, just because I've moved all of my attention to the sim stuff. But we're doing a charity race in an hour and a half. So we're going to be against, I think, a few drivers like Ollie Webb, Johnny Cocker. I think Archie Hamilton might be doing it, Mr. JWW. And there's a few big YouTubers that I'm going to be racing against, and these boys have been hardcore on it. I think they're halfway through a championship, and I've been invited in halfway through, so I'm sure I'm about to have an ass kicking. That's coming up shortly. So I suppose if you're watching this video, that's probably a few days ago.
Sorry guys, you've missed it. But it was good, and Adam did or did not get his ass kicked. So cut as appropriate.
But generally, I'm online from like 7:30, 8 o'clock most evenings at the moment on Twitch. I'm doing the All Stars Championship on R Factor, and then there's BRDC are doing a charity race for the NHS, which is great. So that's going to be starting in a week or two. So that's going to be an F3 cars. I think they decided to go more Formula cars, because in the GTs on the online racing, the racing was starting to get a little bit dirty. Of course, you can have a little bit of rubbing and bumping and get away with it, whereas Formula cars generally, if you have any contact, like in real life, it's game over. Have you got a sim, or have you done anything online?
Do you know what? I've never. I try not to keep anything computery in the house, and mainly because I just don't have the attention span for it. Like more traditional kind of stuff.
You sure it's not the better half that's?
No, she's very good.
So I'm going to work, darling.
Yeah, she.
No, she's very good. She doesn't give a flying fig about anything like that. But it's more like a lot of people that go into this side of the automotive and motorsport world. It's because we're all failed drivers, and I think on the back of it, you know, if I was just to have all that equipment, I don't need a constant reminder that I'm not good enough. And so, you know, and I do fear that I'd become ever so slightly obsessive.
Yeah, I got
incredible though, like the online stuff. I think there's bigger prize money online than there is in real life, and it costs less. But of course, you've got to learn to drive the way of the software.
I think the sim racing world has changed. Certainly how it's come to the fore has changed how motorsport and sport in general, I think, can be consumed and how people can take part.
I think it's great for the sim world, and like I found myself watching big races or being on board with like Connor Daly and stuff. Like he's there and he's sat over his wheel and like he's just shouting at people, and it's entertaining to watch. Like, of course, you never get this kind of interaction in the race car because it's impossible. I've only ever seen it, I think, in touring cars where the driver during the safety car spoke to the commentator. I don't know how they've done it, but generally, and also maybe, of course, obviously that there's a lot more money at stake and involved and huge sponsors. Whereas I suppose maybe the online stuff, okay, it all starts off as fun, and I know we all get serious at times, but at the end of the day, for the drivers that are fortunate enough to do it in real life, it is still just fun, and I suppose we can make it entertaining and a bit of a show.
We are going to get back to normal, or something that resembles normal, and you're going to be back on track. How do you feel about your chances, and how do you feel about the setup, the team, and almost more importantly, dare I say it, the car?
At the end of the day, we're in one of the best cars on the grid, the AMG GT3. In fact, we've had a new model for this year, so new styling, new bodywork, a little bit of different aero, extra cooling for the driver, brakes, and the engine. So we're hoping this is going to help us, especially during the long races with the extra brake cooling. I believe we can almost get at least 50% more life out of our brake pads, which is great, and we can keep that pedal feel, which is great as well. Obviously, as brakes wear down, they get hotter, and not that it's an issue, it just means that we have to pit more often to obviously do the pad changes, whereas now we should be able to do that a lot less. I'm going to be racing in the China GT, hopefully. So that I'm really looking forward to. We've gone from a one-car team last year up to running 3 GT3 cars, and now we've got 2 GT4 cars in a different championship, just because we ended up winning 4 or 5 races last year, and we ended up almost on the podium every race weekend in China. So that was brilliant. So we've ended up attracting a few customers to that team, so that's been great. And then I'm going to be doing the VLN and Nurburgring 24 hours with Mercedes AMG Team Black Falcon as well. So that I really can't wait to get back to the Green Hell. Yeah. Like, this is probably the longest I have ever been away from the Nurburgring. Like, I call it my second home, because some seasons I've been there like 13 times during the year. That's obviously on the VLN layout, the 24-hour layout, and even just on the Grand Prix circuit. And I do quite a bit of coaching there. I look after a few German drivers, so if they're racing on the Grand Prix circuit, I'll go there and I'll work with them there as well. And then hopefully I'll be doing the Spa 24 hours again. And the thing is, it's going to be a little tough. It's interesting because all the calendars are starting to come out, and I'm pretty certain, because we're putting a whole 7 months worth of racing into the space of 4, I'm a little scared that there's going to be a few clashes, and it's going to cause a few hard decisions on thinking, right, which championship am I going to have to go for. Priority is Nurburgring 24 hours. This is my biggest race of the season, so do as many VLNs as possible around the Nordschleife, and then do that, and then everything else sort of falls in and around. The Chinese stuff looks like it does fall around all the weekends so far, which is good. And it might also bring 1 or 2 opportunities to do some extra races as well, because I'm sure I'm not going to be the only driver that might have 1 or 2 clashes. I'm sure there's going to be plenty of people, so maybe there's an opportunity there to pick up the odd extra race. But yeah, once life goes back to normal, I'd be happy to be racing every weekend if possible. So I forgot to show you, hold on a sec, staying safe up north at the moment, but this is
famous puzzles.
This is the 2016 win from when we won the Nurburgring 24 hours, and we are part the way through it. It's sort of, well, since that's arrived, it's slowed down a little bit. We had a batch of 20 made. They sold out in about a day and a half. So we've had another batch of 20 made of these. And then we've also had a night one made as well. So I don't know whether you can see that without the glare. Hold on.
Sexy shot.
So that's from the Nurburgring. So Jochen from Frozen Speed has done these. They're like €35 plus post. But of course, they've been ideal for, this is the second one. No, this is the third puzzle that we've done during quarantine. Puzzles for life, not just for quarantine.
Adam, thank you very much for joining us here on Is It Fast? And I'm sure with most of myself, wishing you all the best, both when you're back on track physically in 2020, but also in your next endeavour on the sim.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you for watching Is It Fast with Adam Christodoulou. Remember that if you'd like to watch any of his sim racing, to connect with him on all of his social media platforms, including twitch.tv. And to watch more in-depth reviews, interviews, and look at the season ahead, remember to follow Is It Fast on your social media platform of choice.